Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that is absolutely crucial, a necessary, and frankly, quite urgent paradigm shift in modern management. We're talking about moving away from those purely transactional relationships at work and finally finding true connection and purpose. Look, if you've ever felt like modern leadership advice sounds amazing on paper but totally falls flat in reality, well, you're in exactly the right place. We are going to unpack the illusion of modern servant leadership and reveal what it actually takes to transform how you lead.
So, let's jump right in with a brilliant analogy from our source material. Just imagine a friend asks you to help them move a couch, right? And in return, they offer you a pizza and a cold drink. You'd probably do it happily. Maybe grumble a tiny bit about the stairs, but at the end of the day, it's a favor between friends. But what if they offered to pay you $500 for that exact same task? Suddenly, it's not a friendly favor anymore. It's a business transaction. The joking completely stops, your focus shifts entirely to just getting the job done, and that authentic spirit of service, it's instantly killed. And here's the thing, that exact same dynamic happens in leadership when your motivation shifts from genuine care to calculated returns.
This quote by Mark Wiggins hits the nail right on the head, and it brilliantly illustrates the core issue we're facing today. Over the last 60 years or so, this concept of servant leadership started with an incredibly noble intent. Put your teams first, empower them, help them grow. But, as this quote captures so well, we've kind of fallen into a hidden corporate trap. We started serving not for the sake of the individual person, but with this calculated expectation of getting something back in return.
Section 1. The problem with ROI.
We're looking at a massive contrast here. As the whole leadership industry exploded, companies suddenly needed to justify the massive amounts of money they were spending on training programs and seminars. So, this desperate corporate need to prove a return on investment, or ROI, literally hijacked a beautiful philosophy. Originally, the intent of servant leadership was entirely about empowering the individual's growth. It was about the human being. But today, we see this modern ROI-driven version. We serve them snacks, we give them nap pods, we have open door hours, but the underlying goal is purely to boost corporate metrics. We just want to increase productivity and stop costly turnover. It's a really subtle shift in motive, but it changes absolutely everything about how that leadership is felt by the team.
And honestly, this is exactly why we see crazy statistics like this one. 25% of people report they are currently working for the worst boss they have ever had. I mean, just think about that for a second. After 6 decades of books, seminars, and training focused on servant leadership, a whole quarter of the workforce is completely miserable with their management. It proves unequivocally that traditional metric-driven leadership training simply isn't working on a human level. People aren't stupid, right? They can totally tell when they're being managed for a metric rather than cared for as a person.
I mean, how many times have you heard a company declare, "Our staff are our greatest asset"? It sounds so wonderful, doesn't it? But actually, scratch that. It's a massive semantic trap. Because in the business world, an asset is purely defined as something that makes the company money. It's the exact opposite of a liability, which costs money. When we call our people assets, we are subconsciously reducing them to little more than tools for our own profit.
Which brings us to Section 2, Introducing Leadership Mindfulness.
So, how do we actually rescue this philosophy? We have to pivot to servant-minded leadership. When you picture hands carefully holding a light bulb that contains a heart, you perfectly capture the fusion we're talking about here. This rescues the original philosophy by adding one absolutely critical ingredient: mindfulness. The light bulb represents that mindful intention and conscious thought, while the heart represents genuine, authentic love for the people you're leading. You literally cannot have true servant-minded leadership without both of those things working together.
Let's break down exactly what we mean here. Leadership mindfulness is an active, conscious engagement with your team's actual needs. It means completely stepping away from that transactional expectation of a corporate return. It's about being fully present and making deliberate choices to serve, not because it's going to look great on some quarterly report, but because it is fundamentally the right thing to do for the human being standing right in front of you.
To build this robust mindset, a leader really needs to be like a curious child and consistently ask these 3 foundational questions. First, why am I here? Second, what is my true purpose in this role? And third, how can I genuinely make a difference in the lives of those I lead? Because when you answer these honestly, you find an impact that goes way, way beyond just checking HR boxes or hitting sales quotas. You find a purpose rooted in actual human connection.
Moving on to Section 3, the proper nouns rule.
Let's explore a really simple semantic shift that will completely change your daily interactions. Think about it. A noun is just a general person, place, or thing. A generic worker, a headcount, an asset. But your team, they're not made of generic nouns. They are made of proper nouns. They are specific individuals named Sarah, David, or Maria. They have unique lives, they have birthdays, they have sick kids, and they have personal struggles. When you start treating your team as proper nouns, I promise you, everything shifts.
Okay, so practically speaking, how do we honor proper nouns? Well, it means moving far beyond that generic, active listening corporate training where you just sort of nod and repeat things back. It means genuinely paying attention. It means asking good, meaningful questions about their lives. And crucially, this is the big one, it means following up. If someone mentions their dog just had puppies or maybe a family member is sick, a servant-minded leader remembers that and asks about it later. That is exactly how you show someone they are not just a number on a spreadsheet.
And that leads us to Section 4, Love, the True Foundation.
We have finally reached the core revelation of this explainer, diving specifically into Chapter 20 of our source material, which is bluntly titled, I Love You. The reality that separates a standard, everyday manager from a true servant-minded leader is anchored entirely in genuinely loving your team. We've got to move beyond just the traditional golden rule to truly understand what our people need on a fundamental level. Now, authentic love does not mean just giving people whatever they want. Think about it like a diet. Eating dessert first might be what you desire, but it definitely isn't what's best for you. In leadership, love means balancing what your team prefers with what they genuinely need for their long-term growth. It isn't enabling them. It is wanting and facilitating the absolute best for them, even when it's tough.
This really nails the balance perfectly. For example, true leadership love might actually mean saying no to an employee's request for a raise. I know that sounds wild, but why? Because you are actively evaluating the bigger picture of the company's health, which secures everyone's jobs long-term. But here is the key. You deliver that no while completely maintaining the employee's dignity through honest, caring communication. You don't just react. You respond with mindful presence and a genuine desire for their ultimate best.
Now, to put this love and mindfulness into action immediately, you can't just have vague, warm and fuzzy intentions. You need actual goals. Use the TNT method. Make your leadership goals time-oriented by setting a firm deadline. Make them narrow, meaning targeted and specific, like, hey, I will have one meaningful conversation with a team member each week. And make them temperate, meaning challenging but actually realistic to achieve in your crazy busy schedule.
So, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to reflect on for your own leadership journey. Pay close attention to how you interact with your people tomorrow morning and ask yourself this honestly. Are you just managing your assets to get a better return on investment, or are you genuinely loving your team and fighting for their best? The choice you make there will change absolutely everything. Thanks for joining us for this explainer, and keep learning.